Hello, everyone. My name is Nisan Novak, and this is my presentation for the culmination of the the Right Thing program, sponsored by the Inspire Energy Company, in order to help foster the next generation of advancement of renewable energy and renewable clean green tech. The title for my presentation is Decentralized Energy Grid: Incremental Adoption of Renewable Energy Nationwide, and we will get into what that title means in the following slides. So the objective of this project, just like the objective of everyone else's project, I would assume, is to reach 100% renewable energy. So the goal of this prompt of this program and this presentation is to achieve 100% renewable energy and finding methods of implementing that, because we want to make sure to not surpass a 2% threshold that was set by the Paris Climate Agreement. And in order to do that, we need to reduce our global greenhouse gas emissions to below 42 gigatons by the year 2030. And the goal of 100% renewable energy will also inadvertently provide an opportunity for opening up a whole new market of technological innovations, especially to this aging infrastructure system, which hasn't been updated since it was built. So the focus of this project, as I said, is infrastructure means for achievement of 100% renewable energy. So this is mainly because the current energy grid is an extensive infrastructure network that's composed mainly of outdated technology that's mostly been unupdated, that's gone untouched since it was developed first about a century ago. The vastness of this grid has made upgrades daunting and discouraging, so therefore it mostly went untried. But ever since then, technological conditions have changed over time. That includes the development of the internet, which we could potentially use to monitor energy use, as well as modular home energy generation, which involves decentralized energy power systems like solar rooftops or storage batteries installed in your garage. And of course, we have been developing more and more renewable energy over the ages. Of course, for the goal of helping reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, among others. So now, a more practical supply and distribution method would be in a decentralized manner, because of all of the decentralized methods that we have of capturing energy nowadays. So, in terms of infrastructure methods, we are going to go with microgrids in this case. There are examples of microgrids. We will get into that. And I would like to implement this concept in a large scale in order to create a standardized system. So, running on various forms of renewable energy is going to be the key to this, so that we can make sure that we have enough energy made available. So it would be a decentralized system that combines the energy yield of each source of renewable energy. And there will be microgrids built according to each region. So the regional energy palettes, which would be the combination of various forms of renewable energy within that region, it would depend on regional climate, according to the highest productivity of which source within each region would garner the highest supply of energy. So that includes, for example, in a volcanic region such as Seattle, geothermal energy would be a potential source of renewable energy, because that would be feasible in that kind of climate. Buffalo is a city that's located near Niagara Falls, so that would be an excellent source of hydroelectricity. So the microgrids would be supported by batteries, of course, because that would help store the energy while we're at peak production, and we would be able to then use it later on during peak demand. So some examples that are currently being implemented of microgrids include the affordable apartment complex called Marcus Garvey Apartments in the Brownsville neighborhood of Brooklyn. And that is a solar array that is set to produce around 560,000 kilowatt hours annually of clean, renewable, solar-based energy. Another significant example that's been recently implemented is in Stone Edge Farms in Sonoma, California, which involves a highly complex system of energy storage methods and various batteries connected to various solar arrays throughout the farms and throughout the grounds. And that also involves fiber optic monitoring programs so that they would be able to keep tabs on how much energy they're producing and how much they're using. So in terms of energy storage, we want to make sure to use that in order to make renewable energy as practical and feasible as possible. Why? Because for all intents and purposes, we definitely have enough source of renewable energy in order to reach the demand of the entire planet. Problem is that that the renewable energy is produced by unpredictable weather conditions that we really have no control over. They're highly variable and they're highly dependent on the forces of nature. So what we want to do is to be able to capture these sources of energy while they're most productive, store it so that we could use a time shift approach to use it at a different time after we collect this energy. And we could see there are various forms of time shift energy that currently exist that we would like to continue to expound upon for the future. Now, in terms of a nationwide microgrid system, that would sound a little bit contradictory, but here's the concept. It would be a hub and spoke tier battery system, where the grids will be built at multiple scales to ensure secure supply. So that would include the smallest tier being at the metropolitan level, because metropolitan regions are a better indicator for the general population's activities than arbitrary municipal boundaries. And each microgrid will comprise of a series of renewable sources which will feed into a regional energy plant or energy storage facility or an energy battery, whatever it is that we are going to use that'll best work for that region. And it's all going to depend on climatic conditions. So now, criteria for achieving success in a microgrid would, it's very complicated. This is only the beginning, and it's highly uncertain how successful or effective it would be, but we would like to make sure to increase our odds. So some approaches that we should take, which should include energy policy and regulatory reform. An example of that being New York State's Governor Cuomo passing a mandate for 1,500 megawatts of energy storage. He wants that achieved by 2025, and that is mostly being implemented through deregulation of the market and incentive, and as well as training and various forms of encouragement for companies to start adapting or to start adopting and even start developing the technology. There's also the challenge of community buy-in, because we're going to want a bottom-up approach to the mass adoption of the system so that it could be the primary method of distributing energy to households and businesses and anything else that might make use of energy. So the technical challenges that need to be overcome as well, because this is a project that is mostly in concept, but we still have technical challenges that we need to address for the future if we want this to be fully accomplished. So that would include the technology for battery and storage, which is currently in the developing phase, and it's constantly being improved upon, but there are still many challenges. And there's also the idea that existing systems that we have just looked at with those two examples in the previous slide, that can be adopted at larger scales, and we should embrace that idea and start following through on that. So to open business opportunities would produce a revenue stream, which would then create an entire market that would encourage competition and would encourage all sorts of technological innovation. So there's also so that would include the Internet of Things, which has already been developing. It is a phenomenon at this point, and that would this would provide a new market opportunity for any kinds of applications of the Internet of Things concept. That would include the household appliances communicating with each other or communicating with you through your phone in order to monitor how much energy they would need to demand and perhaps even giving suggestions of how you could save on the energy if it's needlessly being spent. There's also the retrofitting of buildings that would be necessary in order to reduce energy user intensity or energy demand. That should be heavily considered, and and a holistic approach to urban planning should also be considered in order to overall develop the base. In order to overall reduce the base energy demand of buildings, so that it would then be easier to meet the demands of people's energy use. Now, a nationwide network of microgrids. Concept is for it to be independent but interconnected. And that would involve each metropolitan area producing its own energy supplies through its own microgrid palette. And it would be concentrated on a regional storage unit from which energy will be supplied. So we could see these green symbols are the metropolitan battery systems or the metropolitan storage systems, which are going to be used to supply energy after it collects energy from the various renewable microgrid sources, such as geothermal, wind, or solar, or hydro. The surplus energy is going to be fed into the higher tier energy storage units in order to maximize reserve energy supply to prepare for potential shortages or natural disasters. And then, if such a case were to happen, those areas, those metropolitan areas, wouldn't need to worry because they would have supplemental energy provided to them so that their regions would not go black. They would not need to worry until they get up and running again, until they start developing or until they start collecting their own energy again and reach a steady, safe supply. They will have their energy supplemented by the federal or state level or the upper tier reserve energy supply systems. So of course, there are plenty of challenges. There are strengths and opportunities. So let's just do a little quick SWOT analysis in the case of Buffalo, New York. So in this particular case, as well as in general, strengths and opportunities would include that the state government has been implementing deregulation towards the adoption of energy storage. And Buffalo itself is geographically located near Niagara Falls, and Niagara Falls, the city, is also a part of the metropolitan area of Buffalo. So it would be able to make an excellent candidate for an ample supply of hydroelectricity. And there is also a currently developing gigafactory for a local microgrid already in development in the city of Buffalo that's received a $14 million investment thus far. Now, some weaknesses include the current state of the technology, still being developed, still being improved upon, but still it's a long ways to go. And it's also currently unclear what the potential revenue stream would be, as it's still a challenge how companies who are going to be participating in this are going to be able to make their money to keep going and keep advancing this. Now, to conclude, this is mostly a hypothetical brainstorm. It's just a thought experiment for renewable infrastructure. It is meant to inspire ideas for more thorough and feasible transition towards renewable energy. And the hope is to encourage more innovation in the market of renewable energy storage and anything related to that in order to help standardize energy storage. It could be possible that we could keep using the existing energy grid, but of course this was a strictly hypothetical scenario that I proposed in order to help inspire new ideas for how we could develop and advance renewable energy at a grand scale. And we would also need to realize that the process involves reducing overall energy demand, which must involve smart urban development, which means avoiding urban sprawl and retrofitting buildings to be more energy efficient. We would also need to get cars off the road. We want to inspire new creative inventions, and we want to develop the technology to be a main priority. And we want to do that with a steady revenue stream and a strong market. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.